Thank you, everyone. Just to give a little bit about my background. I've been in agility, emotional intelligence, leadership. I played every role on an agile organization. I have done this for over, I'm not going to tell my age, many, many years. Just trust me. And I am a co-active coach and leadership coach. I also teach with AWA with IC Agile trainings. I'm the expert and the EC cohort and the Agile team cohort. I'm a diversity and inclusion certified facilitator and mentor. I help organizations with culture change, and I love emotional intelligence. It's something that is key to everything we do. And so I would love for you guys to first tell me in chat, what is emotional intelligence? What do you believe it is? Let's see if we can get some responses of what is emotional intelligence? How do you know that you have it? What are some key components? One person said it's what left brainers lack. I would say, Brian, tell me more about what that is. That's pretty funny. So let me give you some, let's see, what else do we have? Being able, you'll see me look over here because I have two screens. Being able to adjust my communication based on receiver's needs. Yep. To approach certain situations, self-awareness. Yes, these are all very correct. And so being empathetic. Oh, yes, that is definitely key, Owen. Yes. So let me share my screen for you guys. If you can see my screen, please say yes. So one of the keys of emotional intelligence is about the awareness, understanding, and managing your own emotions. It's also about recognizing the impact that you have on others and also their emotions. And there's self-management, self-regulation, group awareness, empathy, neutrality. It is what most leaders, all leaders need. And it's something that we can learn. Some people have pieces of emotional intelligence that they're just born with. And other of us, like was said, are left brainers, they may need a little bit more help. um, but also, some people confuse emotional intelligence with emotions. So they think that being emotional is, oh, you have emotional intelligence because you're emotional. I've heard this so many times. It is you're just too emotional. You have strong feelings. I don't want any emotional intelligence because I can lead people and take charge. But being emotional is just having feelings, strong feelings. So what I would love for you guys to do is to pick A, B, C, or D, and I want you guys to pick which one are emotions and put them in chat for me.
Louria, while we're waiting for that, I think we're seeing your presenter view and not your.
Oh, you're seeing my one view and not my present. Okay.
Yep.
I'm not even sure why that is showing up. I know why, because I have umpteen screens showing. So let me try again. But as you do that, please just go in and bear with us with the technical difficulties of today. So what's coming up? C, D, 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 C. Yes, it's D. Emotions are all of them. Emotions are or any of them. Some people believe that it's just crying or no, it's all of them. Anger is also an emotion. So for people who yell or stonewalling is an emotion. And it's being aware of that, being emotionally intelligent and being aware of that. knowing when you are being emotional and being okay with being emotional, because we're all emotional. And sometimes we think that we're not, that we don't have emotions because we don't say anything, or we don't get angry, or we don't cry, or what have you. But they all show up in all of us. So let me try again. And please, Jessica, let me know if I am not sharing the right one.
Okay.
Because, and bear with us for a second, because I want to make sure that I'm sharing the right screen. So, did you know that 70% of employers value emotional intelligence in an employee over IQ? I wonder who knew this. Is this new news for anyone?
Louria, while we're waiting for answers, are you sharing right now?
No, I'm not sharing.
Okay, good.
I am not sharing. I am not sharing. Yeah. Yeah, I did know. Yes, they say 70% of all employers. I did a lot of research that they don't hire. They do Google. A lot of these companies are now doing emotional intelligence assessments because they know that when a leader is not emotionally intelligent, yes, they have the skill set, but it takes more. Think about a leader that you really found um impactful, that really changed you, grew you, where you were excited, you were ready to come to work. That was the leader you wanted to follow. Put in the chat some of the qualities that this leader actually had. Yeah, Kat said that was part of her hiring criteria in her last job. Drive, yes. Rachel, empathy, yes. Empathy. Mentor me, yes. And reach me, yes. Yeah. These were, yes, listening skills. Yes, we're going to talk about that later. Servant leadership, humility. These are all skills that are so important that great leaders have. So now let me know, Jessica, if you can see my screen.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Finally got it right. So you'll see me look this way, people, just because I'm looking at, there's like 3 screens going on here. So the EQ success model. Some people have asked, like, what are parts of oh yeah, I would love Owen. Please put the First Corinthians 13, 4 through 7. Put that in there so people can see that. I love that. So EQ success model. This is all about relationship management, self-awareness, empathy, self-regard, self-regulating means self-management, and group awareness, social awareness. Today, because there's so much, we're going to focus on self-awareness. Self-awareness is the key, because if you don't know how you show up and the impact that you make, then who cares what you can see in others? That's important too, but you got to first know who you are and how you show up. That is, and my favorite. Love is patient, love is kind. That is actually my favorite verse. But it's so important to know how you show up, who you are, um, what you bring to the table, what's your impact. Because it's hard to lead a group or lead a group of people if you don't know how you actually show up. I'm curious, who are you? What are some things you as, and I believe there are leaders in every seat. We're all resilient leaders. I use the word to mean the C-suite, middle, implementers, everyone are leaders. So who are you? How do you show up? As you're writing that in chat, and what are some things you would love to work on? I'm going to tell you a little bit of vulnerability story about me. As when I first started my journey long ago, I think Jessica and I talked about the bull in a china shop. Yes, I was the blunt, extremely blunt person who just said whatever they felt like. And the impact sometimes was that's exactly what we needed. And other times it was shut down. People felt hurt, shamed, blamed. I would say what was wrong, but wouldn't say the growth of what was right. There are so many ways to learn how to say something is upsetting or it doesn't look right, and do it in a growth mindset. I was on this not right. I would cut and leave. It was not a pretty picture. But as I grew and learning and working with many people, and also being a parent with a daughter who is vastly different than myself, I've learned deep emotional intelligence skills. And so I am by nature a fixer. And so I am always working on listening, being humble. Empathy is the other side of blunt. And so I have on this journey have learned to recognize and recover and read the room. So knowing who you are is so important. The good side, the part that everybody cheers, and the shadow side, the side that you hear. If you're trying to figure out who you are and how you show up, think about some of the things that you hear from other people. What do you hear them say? What are the good things? What are the things that are okay? What are the things in the middle? That's how you know how you show up in your impact. Read the room next time when you're amongst a bunch of people. What are their faces look like? Are they doing, are they excited? Are they shocked? Are they shut down? What is your energy? So now I want to talk about some common of what impacts you. There are certain levels of things that actually impact a person. One of them is communication. So our tone of voice, you ever talk to someone, they're like, yeah, it's just so great. And they're trying to lead a session and you're just like, no, thank you. It can be how excited you are, but is it the right time to be excited? It also can be what you're saying and how you're saying it. That's so important. How do you show up? Are you curious? Are you asking a question with a condescending tone? These are also important. Internal influences. Am I sad? Am I in pain? It's the level one, what I call listening, is what's happening within inside me. Am I emotional? Did I just get engaged? Am I going on a trip? There's also external influences. Did my boss just yell at me? Did I get a promotion? Am I is my life going well? Am I happy with whatever's going on? And a big one that we miss is body language. Body language is missed so much. It's how we show up. Are we showing up like this and we're leading? Are we excited? Is someone asking you a question like, or saying something to you, I really had a bad day. And you're like, really? That's amazing. And it's the wrong body language because it's like they're sad and you're completely elated. We have to be very careful of our body language. I'm interested in if anyone could put in the chat, what impacts you? What are things that I miss body language so much? Yeah, Brian said, my problem is I spend so much time in my head. I'm awfully not mentally present in the room, not only unaware of others, but unaware of myself. Yeah, we get stuck up here. I love that. We get stuck up here and we're like, I got things to do, and we're really moving really fast. I invite you guys, not right now, at one time, walk around with your friends, in a group of people, walk at your normal pace. And most of us walk really, really fast. Now, cut your pace down in half and then in half again. When you slow down, we hear the fan going above my head. You hear the birds. When you slow down, you can get out of your head and into your heart, into your gut, into your hands, into movement, and you can be present for yourself. So I love what you said, Brian. Yeah, Valerie says our boss thinks meetings help us get stuff done. Sometimes that's true, and it depends how the meeting is and how they show up. If the energy is I got to get stuff done, I got to get stuff done, then there's panic, right? It can create so much panic in the room. So one thing that happens is what I'm hearing you guys talk about is the reactive leadership. I'm reading chat too. Yeah. But this is a good one. I want to answer. My struggle is as a leader is trying not to fix the problem, but understand how the employee is feeling about the problem they are presenting. Oh, and I invite you to ask Warren. People comment on this as well. One of the things that happens is that we can be in reactive mode. And what reactive mode is that something happens and we're triggered. And the thing is, when we are triggered, we go back to the thing of unconscious patterns. And what does that mean? We go back to our fixed mindset. So for me, I can be very straightforward. What can happen is it could be too much of a good thing and it gets blunt and it feels not great. When I'm triggered, I get blunt. I go back to what I know, but it's being able to recognize that. So reactive leadership is not good. It's we show up and we're blaming and shaming and we're filled with we need to be right and self-doubt and we lack confidence and we hear a bunch of it's his fault, her fault, their fault, everybody's fault. I didn't do it. There's no accountability. And what's interesting, you hear language like this, is how you recognize the lack of accountability. It's not my fault. I did it because I have to, or my leader expects this of me. I have no choice. To be responsible, we tweak that a little bit and say, I've decided to rush through a meeting because I don't want to lose my job. That's something I call being responsible for your world. It might be that you don't want to lose your job, but we all are at choice. And it's important for us to recognize and be accountable for the things that we do. So it's the language of and accountability is I did this because I had no choice. You'll hear it all the time. You'll hear everything. You'll hear constantly everything going on of, oh, I don't know what else to do. I don't have a choice. I have to do this. I have to do that. And the blame is set on someone else. I don't have a choice. You do have a choice. Is that when we need to remember that it's up to us to say and take a breath to say, does this fit with who I am as a person? That's emotional intelligence, the self awareness of it is to sit with, I'm doing this because I choose to, but is this what I really value? And that can be hard to do, to say that I have a choice. I choose to do this because I want to keep my job. So let's talk about I'm laughing at some of these. You could read them. Let's talk about self awareness leadership skills. So, one big one is these are some of them: impulse control, optimism, independence. And of course, there's empathy and things like that, problem solving, assertiveness, flexibility. One of the big ones that is so crucial, and I'm going to stop sharing for a moment, is impulse control. It is so important. Impulse control is self management. As leaders, and one of the key things of emotional intelligence is self awareness, is how do we manage ourselves? How are we aware of who we are and our impact on others? I would love for people to put in the chat things that they do where they are triggered and they lose their almost amygdala hijack, means that you're triggered and you lose impulse control. What are some things that trigger you where you really have to work on it? Like I said, mine is the know-it-all in the room, people being bullies. Oh, like people talk over me, middle school whining. Yeah, like that constant, like every single time someone is a bully. I want to give you. I'm a fixer. One time I was in the car with my daughter, and she was telling me a story, and for my daughter, not when I lead anyone, not when I'm facilitating. I just want her to be so great. And I lose the fact that she's creative, resourceful, and whole. I forget about that. And I go into fixer mindset. So she's telling me about these girls and how they're not listening to her. And she's just frustrated. And I'm like, well, maybe you could do this. And she's so frustrated, she shuts down. So I drop her off, I come back and I apologize and I say, I wasn't listening. I truly wasn't listening. And I ask her, tell me more about that. What was that about? And I just become extremely curious. I'm very, very curious because in the minute I am more engaged with her, the conversation goes better. And I let go that it's just not about me. This is about the person that I'm engaging with. I was fixing a problem that didn't even exist. And so knowing what triggers you gives you a point to say yes. How do we say yes to things like, you know, someone being a bully? What is the 2% yes, not the 100%? What's the 2% yes? What is going on with that bully? What is that bully missing? Why are they showing up like that? Where can I find them right just 2%? Or what else do I need to think about to find that 2% right? What question do I need to ask? I'm loving what's going on in the chat. It's like when someone isn't talking straight, conversations going for criticizing, yes. So what can you do to find that 2% right in someone who is criticizing? What is going on with them? One way is something that I call creative leadership. This is a way that we show up and we practice creative leadership. We can ask questions like, what am I hearing? What I'm hearing you say is, what I appreciate about what you're saying is. We can also take a deep breath and say, oh, this is really getting on my nerves. We all need to breathe and honor our true feelings. We don't need to just say, oh, this person just makes me sick. Because we're in front of these people. They get on our nerves sometimes. We can yes and with a real yes and, not yes and anyway, or yes but. So I don't know if you guys have ever done the yes, but someone says something to you and you're, yeah, that's great, but we should do this, which makes you feel horrible. We can also go with help me see what's mine to do, to be curious about that person. Yes, I love someone put bullying is a way for people to regulate. There's something missing for them and to be curious about them. That is, be very curious about what is going on with that person because something is truly missing. But how do you deal with that when you're in the context of everything? When you're in a meeting and there's this very dysfunctional person, people want to be valued. Something is missing. Some reason they need to be the star. Something needs to be done. Something needs to be done. As an emotional intelligent leader is to call the elephant in a room in a way that creates um compassion and safe energy, to design an alliance with people, to say if someone does something, we're going to call out an ouch, not to walk over it. Design an alliance means to ways of working. How are we going to work together? Even with your leader who likes to get stuff done all the time, to have that conversation, to let them know their impact. Because sometimes we don't know what we don't know. And that's what we call the complete blind spot. Everybody else sees it, but you don't see it. It's when you're like, oh no, I'm full of energy, and nobody else sees that. And everybody's like, yeah, I don't know, you have low energy. There may be a blind spot that they're seeing that they don't even know, but you see it. We all want to be valued. We all want to matter. So as leaders, we have to show up, and it's so important to work with people and remind them that you are valued, that they matter, because we all want to matter. And when I say you, I mean you too. In your jobs, do you feel like you matter? Do you feel like you're valued? In the meetings, are you creating value? Are you creating that sense of um, that things are important, that the group is important? If not, that's time for you to reflect. What's missing for me? What is needed? What about me can be different? Because the only person we can control is ourselves. So, leadership presence skills. This is about how do we show up? How do we show up when we get to that meeting? How do we self manage? How do we build trust? How do we read the space, ourselves and others? So, being fully present is being fully aware, being really in tune with them. So there's something that we use in coaching called listening levels. So level one is basically when all eyes are on me. It's me, 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 I don't understand. I'm all in my head. I'm thinking about what matters. Someone said, I'm all in my head. You're in level one listening as I'm trying to figure out what's next. So that means you're ignoring the whole group and not, sometimes even yourself because you're like pondering. Level two is when I'm listening to the data. I'm listening to what they're saying. I'm aware of what the actual words they're saying. I may ask some questions. Level three is when I'm listening to everything. I can read facial expressions. I'm reading the room. I can sense the energy, low energy, high energy. I can play in the moment. Here's a question I want to answer. How can you make someone feel like they matter without seeming patronizing? Because that's how I always feel when I try to do it. So if you're coming with the context of feeling patronizing, then yes, they're going to feel the same way. It's being authentic. It is being authentic when you really show up to say, let's say I'm having a bad day and I'm like, man, everything I did really was horrible. And you're like, no, I see so much greatness in you. As a leader, I see you as someone who is amazing. I also see the struggle that you're having. So you own the good, the middle, the shadow, the growth, everything. We don't just tell people that they're all wonderful if it's not true, but we say, man, let's say that I'm too blunt sometimes, which I've told you. I've shared that with you. You can say, wow, as a leader, some empathy. If you just stretched and added a little bit of empathy, it would just elevate you as a leader. It's a way to change the words that really sound like they're coming from your heart. So if they're patronizing, I say don't say anything. And it's also ask the person, be curious, ask them what's important to you. Some people are people who care about other people. We call them who people. Some people are what people. They like to get things done. What people, you can say, I want to throw a party. The party's done before you even finish all the criteria. There's why people like myself. We want to know why, purpose. There's how people who strategize. There's many different types of people. It's being very curious and finding out what matters to others. I hope that answers your question. Who people also known as owls, Jessica. So let's go back to presence. Presence is something that is very interesting. You are literally just like the cat. You are so present with them. You are so in tune with them that you know exactly, you're just there with them. You're focusing on them. And understand that you have to recover because you'll go back. Oh, you're hearing noise, but it's recovering back. They're important. Let me be curious about them. It's asking questions. Presence is when I'm fully aware of the person that is sitting in front of me. Does that make sense to everyone? Just want to make sure if anybody has any questions. Yes, good thing. So here's the thing that's very interesting for us talkers and fixers. When we talk, we're only repeating what you already know. But if you listen, you may learn something new. I was once on a call with someone and I was just talking. And he said to me, do you want to know anything about me? And I was so insulted. And I went back to someone and they said, yeah, you do that sometimes. And it was like, whoa, it blew me away. This was, some years ago. But it's letting go of your own agenda, silence, recover from your own thoughts. Like, let's recover, people. Let's be fully present. Listen, learn, yes. And then there's authentic curiosity. It's being authentic. It is when someone says something like, I'm really sad, or I don't understand something. There's some ambiguous words there. What do you mean by sad? How does that feel for you? What don't you understand? Because sometimes you're fixing the wrong problem or they don't want to be fixed. They just want a listening ear. So when you hear ambiguous words like, and I'm just agile proud, I don't know how to write user stories. What about user stories don't you know how to write? What do you need from me? What is the real truth? Because a lot of times, I don't know if you guys realize this, when people come, like a group is not delivering on time or things like that, there's normally like a real person problem underneath that is the key problem. Because we can teach them skills and processes. You all have been reorged, regiggered, everything has been changed, new processes, and the same problems show up. And so emotional intelligence helps you get to the real why, that level core why, the behavior dysfunctions that are going on. It might be that someone's adding extra stories to something because they don't feel like they're being heard, or they don't understand something, or they don't like someone, or there's a group issue. There's so many things that go on that are, what is the real problem? Because we're always fixing the tactical. And emotional intelligence also allows you, when you're curious, to balance the doing and the being. Because we can get more done when we're sure of what the real purpose and outcome that we want. And that happens with powerful questions and being curious. This is one of my favorite. Great leaders give everyone something to believe in, not something to do. So when you feel good about what you do and value, and your talents are utilized, your voice is heard, you have a safe space, then emotional intelligent leaders give people something to believe in. When I'm truly have true buy-in, I leap forward. I have the confidence. I work hours. I had employees, I had to beg them, please, please stop. Please stop. Don't work this weekend, because they felt valued. I didn't shame and blame them. I was vulnerable. And I also owned what I did wrong. It's also being vulnerable. Yes. Is that what you said? Balance the doing and the being. Yes. Yes, and it all does take a bunch of patience. It's also patience with yourself. So patience starts from within. It starts with, I believe in myself. I believe in who I am. I will make mistakes, and being responsible for my world and owning those mistakes. Isn't it so frustrating when a leader or someone's like, well, I didn't do it. It was because you didn't do it. Or yeah, you did it. I don't know. You led it wrong. It's like, can we really take responsibility and sit down? Yes, trust. That's a good one, Becca. When leaders don't own or take, it's one of the key skills of leadership. When you don't own or take accountability, then you lose the whole trust. And trust is the foundation for any team to do well. Confidence is another big thing. A lot of times in these jobs, what we do is we let others define us. Our boss made us do it. And we start losing who we are because we forget about who we are. We forget that we're enough. We forget our mission. We forget our passion. We forget what's important to us, because we start to say, well, we have to do this. There's no choice. There takes a lot of courage to come up, which is also part of emotional intelligence, to say, I don't understand this. Help me see. There are ways that let a boss help me see this. I get what you're saying. Share some more with me. It's acknowledging where they're right, where they're not right, where you don't understand. And it starts with, you are enough. It begins with you are, or I am. When you're working with others, you are enough. I am enough. It is knowing who you are and what are your skill sets, taking accountability of, this is what I'm great at. This is what I need help with. I told you about me is, I work constantly on how I deliver something, right? Bluntness. I'm not as blunt as I used to be, but I am very straightforward. I also always have someone who has full of empathy lead with me, because it's the balance. It's knowing how to balance and who you need to call on in a room. Have you ever had the energy is really low and you have someone in the room and they can just jump up the energy? I know who that person is. I know they're enough. I know they can do it in the moment. I champion them, giving them reassurance and celebrate them. Hey, Jim, come on, tell me, ask a question real quick. Some people can change the energy in a second. And so one of the skills that you can use is something we call championing. And this is also about yourself and celebrating. You can do this. That's something that needs to go. And when your team feels reassured, celebrated, when they have confidence, this is what emotional intelligent leadership does for others. Yes, I love that. Own yourself. Are there any questions thus far? I've been trying to read chat back and forth. So now I want to I want to really talk about celebrating, because people think celebrating is rah, 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 rah. Celebrating can simply be when they do something great or they learn from something. I celebrate with my teams, or I work with leaders when failure happens, when they learn from it. Wow, that just did not go right. And they own it. When you're vulnerable and you can say that didn't go right, let's celebrate. Wow, good job. When I'm here on a level, when I'm on stage 1 and I go to 1.5, you celebrate. Wow, that was good. We celebrate things that are important, that change things. There's learning and failure. Celebrating isn't just when we get everything out on time. It is growth within ourselves and others. It's having that compassion. It's being able to see what's important to everyone and within yourselves and others. So one thing I want to talk about, which is one of my favorite things to talk about, is one thing that we can do and we all can work on. Ever walked into a room, and I'll make this really personal, and my daughter didn't do the dishes, or my son, and I'm like, oh, why you didn't do the dishes? What, you just didn't feel like it? Are you being lazy? Right? Oh my goodness. I just observed and concluded. I didn't explore. What I mean by observe is I notice things. I'll notice that the dishes aren't done. I notice there are plates in there, but I don't, and I explore. I ask a question. Hey, why aren't the dishes done? Or I've noticed the dishes aren't done. Oh, my daughter said I was busy. I was gonna do them. I had a test. I'm like, oh, okay, no problem. When you observe and conclude without exploring, feelings are hurt, people feel criticized, and they feel shame. This is where it's so important to explore. If you go into one of your meetings and a boss comes in and they see that no one's working, they think no one's working because they're talking and laughing. Right there is innovation can be happen. They're coming in the moment, and they don't give themselves a time to observe. They just conclude. So it's so important that you observe, which is not concluding. It doesn't mean that you say, oh, I noticed that, you guys got this, you're not getting anything done, that you're just sitting there. That's concluding. And it makes people feel bad. Or I noticed you guys got a lot of stuff done. That's also concluding. It's observing, taking time to just watch in silence, to really take in the room and read the room. Right. I want to read something for you guys. I'm going to stop sharing for a second, but it's about the observe, explore. Okay. And I'm going to change it a little bit. It's from a book called Nonviolent Communication. And I'm going to change the word, but it says, I've never seen a stupid kid. I've seen a kid who sometimes did things I didn't understand, or things in ways I hadn't planned. I've seen a kid who hadn't seen the same places where I had been, but he was not a stupid kid. Before you call him stupid, think, was he a stupid kid? Or did he just know different things than you did? Now let's take it and put the word team. I've never seen a stupid team. I've never seen a team who sometimes did things I didn't understand, or things in ways I hadn't planned. I've seen a team who hadn't seen the same places where I had been, but they were not a stupid team. Before you call them stupid, think, were they a stupid team? Or did the team just know different things than you did? What some of us call lazy, some call tired or easygoing. What some of us call stupid, some call a different knowing. So I've come to the conclusion it will save us all confusion if we don't mix up what we can see with what is our opinion. I love that phrase. I love that saying because it's about perspective. We come in when we observe and we jump to our perspective. We jump to our triggers and we forget to look and observe and really think that there may be something different. One of these is biases. They're like confirmation bias. Confirmation bias is like, for instance, that someone is always late for work, right? And then we say for them, it's that they're lazy, they're this, and for us that, oh, it was because there was a accident. We believe exactly what we believe in, and so there's all these biases that we have going in our head, and being aware of those things. What is our truth? What are things that we struggle with? And so it's thinking about things from different perspectives and different angles. Yes, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Jessica, for throwing that in the chat. And so, one of the things that I want us to conclude with is I want us to talk about something that I had read from Daniel D. Hoffman. And this is a way you can look at yourself and others and try to balance between other personalities, dysfunctional personalities that you don't get along with. So, one of them I want to talk about is our core quality. So, some people, and I want you to think about what's your core quality. What is something that you're great at? That people, being straightforward is very succinct. There's no wishy-washy about it. But sometimes our core quality can go to a pitfall because there's just too much of it and it becomes bluntness and harsh. The other thing about a core quality is there's a challenge. What is the opposite that we need to help us? So, like for straightforward, is empathy. Empathy is so important when you're straightforward because you're thinking about how would this impact someone? What are they feeling? The other side of our pitfall is sometimes people are told us we're blunt for so long that we just shut down. I'm never going to be blunt again. And we go to something called our allergy. We become wishy washy. We become the thing that we detest, actually. I cannot stand people who are wishy washy. It drives me crazy. Just say what you mean. Passive aggressiveness. And so I want you guys to think about what is your core quality? What is the thing that is important to you? Thanks, Jessica. What is the thing that you are so great at? And then what makes it go a little bit too far where it becomes a pitfall? And it's normally something that we don't see. So it's good to ask someone else. What would balance it? What's the balance of it? Our challenge. And what is an allergy? Allergy is something that we're really allergic to, but because we say we'll never do the pitfall again, it becomes our allergy. So we don't show up. Sarcasm isn't on there, right? I will give you guys one more. Caring, and then we're done. One more. Caring is a great core quality, but sometimes it can become smother and control. It can go into I care, you have to do this. I really want you to do this. But also in caring, as a mom, as someone who cares, is letting go and letting people make their own mistakes and decisions and see what happens, being curious. The allergy is indifference when you just like, whatever, I don't care. So I want you guys to use this and think about the way you use this is work with someone who has a opposite core quality. So for caring, they're good at letting things go. You want to mix these people together in a room and they can help you. But I want you to remember one thing is emotional intelligent leaders help organizations achieve and people shine. Thank you guys so much. Are there any